for sure, and that's a tricky one because at university, I mean, and in my experience anyway, and this isn't true for all universities, a lot of game animals, what we would call game animals, are treated, probably as pests, or that's how they're taught as. So that kind of pathway, I went into it wanting to change that, or to learn more about that from I guess an ecologist perspective, because there are two different perspectives there. So it's important to realize that that whole game animal thing and pest, or resource and pest, is very different. So I wanted to understand that, and to do that I had to learn about the whole system. So and that's really the guts of it. You've got to, I think, before we start making assumptions on, especially for game animal management, you've got to understand the whole system. So that's why I wanted to know about the ecology and the earth. What kind of rock types are there, why is that tree going to grow there, so on, and then what's going to feed on that. So that was really important. So getting that whole foundation, I guess, prep to tackle those bigger wildlife management decisions, it was really important.
And I guess if you sort of look at it like a farming perspective, you don't see a whole bunch of broadleaf, paddocks on deer farms. Like my vision for a deer farm is paddocks lined with broadleaf and coprosma and stuff, but it's not going to be in the paddock. So yeah, is that sort of where you start broadening your knowledge that, hey, the deer want the food and they're going to make it sort of look more like their environment, whereas I don't know, the native bush, the virgin bush, is quite dense, like you say. Those areas in Rohini's and Taras and Te Arawera are quite dense and compact, and supplejack everywhere, those sorts of things. Is that sort of, I don't know, I'm just trying to think about this out loud. Is that what sort of the vision is in terms of the native ecology?
Well, I think what it really draws back to, and you got to wear two hats here again. You got to wear your ecologist hat and you got to wear your hunter hat, and I think they can be interchangeable. So ecology as a pure science, or and trying to understand the system, it's very hard to see the impacts when you don't want to see them. And that's a lot of the case. What we do, like, we just go in the bush and, oh cool, there's a few trees here and we don't know what they are, but the deer aren't doing too much damage, and that's a mindset that's very easy to get into, because we're not, you're just walking through hunting, you're not really looking and you're not studying it like an ecologist would. So there's two different trains of thought there. And like you said, kind of about lining, or having a different type of system with different plants. Like New Zealand would be a very different place if we didn't have these introduced animals. And browsers do have a massive impact on forest regeneration, especially. Sika are a real big one, especially consuming beech. We start to get massive failures in beech regeneration. So that can occur, and it's been proven to occur with too many animals. So that difference, I guess, in understory is really hard to see. I mean, they used to do the good old exposure plots back in the Forest Service days to see, which gives you an idea, but it's not really something you can do management of. Like there's a few broadleaves there, but that doesn't really tell us. It's quite hard to quantify. So, but just knowing that there is going to be a huge drop in palatable species, it's quite useful, but it's really hard to act on as a whole. Because I mean, how do you know how many deer you're going to go and remove? Do you just guess a figure? So I think that's where the point comes in. It's more about vegetation, or it should be conservation, in my opinion, in my limited understanding. Definitely not a expert on this matter, but it should be based on vegetation condition rather than how many animals there are. Because you could have 200 deer, or you can have 400 deer, but 200 deer might still be too many. You just, it really, even the minimum number could be too much. So rather than just basing on, okay, cool, we saw, so many tards, it's rather on how many species are there, what are the condition, what's the growth, so you're measuring different kinds of things, growth rates, not just a presence abundance of species or presence absence, but actually condition of growth. So there's a whole range of things there.